Hello, it's me again. I'm a bit nasally, so apologies if I sneeze. Let me just turn you around and point you at the pointless mat. There's nothing going on just there at the moment. I was humming and hawing about whether to do a stream or not, because again, it's not very exciting stuff, is it? But I'm doing the stuff anyway. And you know what? It's saving me a lot of time editing at the moment. I could literally be spending 4 hours or more editing one video when I can just stream as I'm going along. So just bear with me a second. Let me just get the chat up. Let's move this lot out of the way. Hello Matt, waving back to you. Let me just disconnect the chat so that I can see it a bit more clearly. I hope you're well. Now this is live. Hey, yeah, we got somebody else there. Hi, Owen Jones. Nice to see you guys. Yeah, so I thought I would do a follow-up. There's something I need to follow up on. We'll start with the A500 expansions. I'll just fly over to the other side of the room there. I'll bring the Mac as well, just so that I can see any chat. So you can see you've still got the Rev 6, is it Rev 6? I think it is Rev 6 A500 set up there, the one from Tom. So to just finish those things up for Tom, actually. So I mean, that board is okay. It just needs a bit of a clean. I did resolder the connections under here. They look like they've been reflowed already, because there's kind of like some brownness up here, like flux or corrosion that's perhaps been cleaned off in the past. Now, in the previous video, we got both of these memory expansions working. I don't know whether you saw that or not. But there's some issues. There always is. Nothing is ever as straightforward as it seems. Following on from that stream, I did a bit more testing, and I found some problems. I fixed it, and then I've put the issue back in place just to show you the behaviour, because it's interesting, and it's a correction to the previous stream, something that was wrong actually. So I'm going to just give you a hover over that. You can see a few things have been done to this. There's a few traces fixed on the top side here. There's different ways of achieving a fix. You know, you could literally just find where they go on the underside and find where they go elsewhere, i.e. this resistor array here, and solder away on the bottom side. But just for simplicity, instead of trying to trace it, because it's proven quite hard to work out where they went on the underside of the chips there. I mean, I could have done if I'd scratched more of it off, so I just put a couple of pieces of wire over there to fix those. But there is still an issue with this. That wasn't the issue. You can see I fitted a cap here. There was one missing. There's some differences between the way this one works, the real-time clock, and the other one, as I'll show you in a minute. And that's interesting as well. Other people might have some thoughts and views and opinions on that. Anyway, we'll talk about that more in a second. This other one, even this one, continued to be a problem after the stream. It was working on the stream, wasn't it? But I did a bit more extensive testing, and it worked for a little bit, and then it started erroring in sys-test. I started giving an error, and I thought, oh, it's probably some missed corrosion, because at that point we'd only swapped, I think, this socket here, and this one here was kind of slightly affected because it's obviously near the battery. These two down here seem bone dry, clean. You know, the pins and the sockets were all clean, the chips were all clean. This chip was clean, to be fair, but anyway, it was playing up and it was driving me nuts, and I was like, what is the issue with this? So, I had the logic probe on there again, everything looked okay, all the signals were there, but it wasn't working. Swapped the chips over, just the same. Removed the real-time clock chip, just the same. I literally spent 2 hours, I kid you not, messing with this yesterday, and eventually I was just listening, thinking for a bit, and I was listening, and I could hear a sizzling. And as I put it closer and closer to the board, I could hear a sizzling noise coming from something. I was like, what on earth is sizzling? I was like putting my fingers on things to see if anything was hot, inspecting it. I cleaned it again, plugged it back in, still sizzling. Something was sizzling. I thought it must be this socket. Now, bear in mind, I melted. I don't know if you saw that. I accidentally touched it with the iron, didn't I? That wasn't the issue, but I thought, well, we need to replace that anyway. So I took it off, and lo and behold, it was a little bit green up this area here of the top side of the board. So I put a new socket on, put it all back together, and lo and behold, it was perfect. No sizzling, and everything was working. So, yeah, there you go. That kind of echoes some of the points that the people made, that generally, if you get a board like this, don't just always focus where the area of the corrosion is. Maybe blitz it. If you've got 4 sockets on there and they don't look so great, just swap them all. So that's that one. That one now works absolutely perfectly. So I went back to this one. I was like, okay, so what is going on with this one? Now, we've tested it. I forget how we tested it. We tested it in sys-test, yeah? And this is the confusing thing. If you load June, let me show you, there's something a bit fishy about this. I mean, quite literally, as you'll see, look, problem de fishier. It's getting fishier and fishier by the minute. So that is obviously some French there. I'm not sure what that means. Problem of space, maybe, or problems of free. I don't, something like that, because I know when the message comes up in English, you get something along the lines of insufficient store or insufficient space free or something like that. So yeah, it's anyway, it's just funny that I thought this is getting fishy, and then this message pops up saying problem to fishier. So this is the really interesting thing, this, and this is, you know, it's completely got me by surprise. And again, I spent hours on this yesterday. I had a migraine most of the day, but, and it wasn't this that gave me the migraine. I had a migraine. That was hence why I didn't do a stream yesterday. And as the day went on, you went step through the motions. And what I mean by that is I measured all of the connectivity on the address lines and the data lines from here to here, because everything was showing fine with a logic probe. Yeah, I'll show you something else here. This is the other behavior. See that? Occasionally you'll get this. Let me just try and boot again. Guru meditation there. And I was like, well, why are we getting gurus? We weren't getting gurus when we tested it the other day. And it's intermittent. The warmer the board is, it's all right now, but the warmer the board is, the more the gurus appear. I can point you at the screen, I think, actually, just for this bit, because it's important to see what I'm about to show you. So bear in mind, we loaded the June a minute ago, and it came up with that fishy message. And if we load, look at that, 1 meg chip, so the memory is detected, and we just let that do a test there. I'll just catch up with the chat. Hi Mike, Simcox again, Luigi, hi. Bocca's Retro, XYZ Concepts, hi guys, Alex Renew, nice to see you again. Ruak, hi to Norway. Smooth MJ, ST format, disc magazine there, blast from my past. Yeah, I love some of those old mags. Yeah, so as you can see, I'll move you a little bit closer, just temporarily, and put you back down there again. Can you see? It's passed. It's on past 2 point. Let me move my cursor. It's on past 3. No problems at all. The memory is fine. So the question there is, what's wrong with June? Why is June not loading on it? And furthermore, let's just try the June again. It's intermittent in the way it behaves. 1 minute it says there's not enough RAM. You know, it comes up with that French message there, that fishy message. Let's just see what it does this time. And then other times, you'll see it starts to boot. You get past the fishy message, you get a black screen, and it starts to load. Now, this is really weird, and it had me stumped, as I say. So, the same on this board, I tested all the connectivity between the address lines, the data lines. Look, you see it's booting now. See if it starts. Sometimes you get like corrupt graphics here, or the odd sound. It's still booting. I can hear the disk drive going. Stopped, I think. Is it going to do anything? Just give it a second. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you get like red corruptions, like the graphics are all messed up. Yeah, so I followed everything on there, including, you know, the obvious things like swapping the RAM chips over, and as I say, logic probe and everything again. And you know what? Everything is good, but it still doesn't work. It passes at sys-test, but it doesn't work with June. Doesn't work with games. So yeah, you can imagine how frustrating that would be to try and diagnose. And again, it's one of these Occam's razor. You know, the simplest explanation being the most likely. The problem has ended up being the wire that I added. Do you remember we found there was no connection between the two banks of chips there? You might not do if you won't if you've not seen it. Just carefully pull it out try and do it without bending it. This wire here, if you remember, it was one of the RAS or CAS lines. Let me think about it. It was actually the RAS are supposed to be all joined up. The CAS aren't. The CAS are in 2 blocks here. And I think that probably relates to the fact we've got, you know, a 68,000 processor on here, and it's you've got UDS and LDS, you know, upper data strobe and lower data strobe. I think, I'm just guessing. So I'm guessing the kind of handle is in 2 halves, which is why you've got a separate CAS for that side and that side. So yeah, we joined the CAS there where it shouldn't be. Now the interesting thing with that is that seemed to fix it, didn't it, at the time? But since then I've fixed these 2 tracers here off camera. They weren't that great. I started to clean up with the fiberglass pen and cleaned those 2, and then, you know, we're back in the same situation where it was doing what it was before. Sys-test was working, but June wouldn't. So yeah, just watch. If we go and desolder that wire now, I will guarantee that will solve it. And the only way I worked that out was looking at the other board and measuring on the other board, actually. And there's some differences. I can perhaps just talk briefly about those differences as well. On here you can see these resistor packs. Now whilst these have got a pin 1 notch, as you can see here, these aren't the type that have got a single resistor per pin and a common pin on pin 1. That isn't what these are. These are just like I think it's 4 lots of 47 ohm resistors. So it's like, you know, if you look at the underside, it's like the first 2 pins there is a 47 ohm resistor, the next 2 pins a 47 ohm resistor, 47 ohms, the next pins same all the way along. So you've got multiple 47 ohm resistors. So the address lines come into one pin and then it comes out and goes to the relevant pin on the chips. All the address lines are joined up. So that's all correct, you know, there's no issues around there. But the one thing I did notice with that is these are 47 ohm, the ones on the other board are 68 ohm. So before I discovered this issue here, I was contemplating, I wonder if it's something to do with the resistor sizes or the board layout. This one's like stretched out quite a bit, isn't it? But yeah, clearly it's not. Anyway, if we just remove that wire, it's really hard to believe. It's also hard to believe how much time I wasted on it yesterday. It was literally a full afternoon I spent on this yesterday. I started like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. By about 3 or 4 o'clock I was cheesed off with it, and my migraine was so bad I had to actually go lie down. Yeah, there we go. So let's go and retest that again without that surplus wire. And if you just joined and missed the start of that to echo, the RAS, row address select, should be joined on all 4 chips, but the CAS is in pairs. And man, I can perhaps show you that on this one in a minute, we'll measure it. But if I switch that on now and point you back at the screen, all being well, that should solve the problem. So there's a few things that solves. Not only does June work, but you don't get the random gurus either, because that had me stumped. And I found that I removed the card and the gurus went away. Yeah, very cryptic, hard to diagnose that, but that's not the sort of fault you would come across unless someone's tried to fix it beforehand and joined something up like that. But what the other interesting point about that, I guess, is, and I can just show you on the board wall, that's actually, you can see it's loading now, no issues at all. I think the chip down here, I think the CAS signals go through this. So if you had a problem like that where you found, okay, it's testing fine in terms of the RAM, but it's still not right, there's something wrong with the RAM, you could probably assume that, I think it's 2 chips here, yeah, whichever way the CAS lines go through there, you could assume there's something wrong with the CAS there actually. That did cross my mind, thinking I wonder if I've got a board fault, but you could remove it and it would work okay, and you could plug this one in and June would work and everything would be fine, no gurus or anything. So yeah, anyway, that's just a correction to yesterday's. I'll just show you on this one here, we'll just measure it so you can see visually what I'm actually talking about on this one. Just put it on continuity test. So if I'll just pull this over, do it on here. We should have the SD wrist strap on. I'll just point you down a little bit. Yeah, so RAS and CAS are pins 4 and 17. So if we flip it round this way, so we'll start with, I think this is CAS actually. Yeah, so they're joined, but they're not joined to the upper chips. And these 2 are joined, but again, they're not joined to these. Yeah, that was the clue to me. As soon as I saw that when I was comparing the boards, I was like, oh my god, the CAS shouldn't be joined. That's probably what the issue is. But the RAS is on the other side, isn't it? I think so. It's like, again, 4th one down here. Yeah, they're joined, and they should be joined here. Yeah, that's joined. That's joined. So, the easy way to think about it is the row. If you look at the schematics, they go across in a straight row, the RAS signals, all the way through the chips, so they're all joined up. But the CAS, it's like, say, you've got CAS going to one and then a separate CAS signal going to the other from the A500 motherboard there. So the other thing I was going to do before we move on to the Spectrum and anything else, well, I'll clean this board up as well as part of what I'm about to do, but we'll just quickly get a battery on here and do a diode mod and test the real-time clock on that one. I'm not going to do it on both of them because you know what I'm like, I say it's going to be a 2-minute job and it ends up being an hour or more. I want to try and keep this short. Hello, Google brought me here. Afternoon Gadget, lovely day, thank you, hi, nice to see you. It is a lovely day, it's super warm in here again today. Hi Beeps, hi Brian, Spitfire IF, hi, nice to see familiar faces again. Stephen, Terrible Fire, hello Stephen, are you feeling any better yet? How are you doing? So, well, what was I going to do next? Right, let's do the battery on this. We'll quickly do that modification. And I straightened up the pins on there as well. I absolutely hate trying to remove these. It's painful, seriously painful. It's easier when it's in a case, because when it's in a case, you can grab it sort of easier from the underside. Anyway, let's wheel back over to the mats. Yeah, I can show you what I was going to show you over there anyway. There was a measurement I was just going to take, but yeah, we can do some of that when we come back. So if I just wheel over here, just plug you into the power. Let's bring the Mac back over. Yeah, I think one reason I might not go on too long today is I'm too hot. I'm too hot, the windows are open in here and I haven't got the jumper on or anything. I'm boiling, absolutely boiling. Stephen, I'm better today, that's great news. I may stream later, brilliant, fantastic, I'll look out for it. I keep looking every day thinking, I wonder if Stephen's going to stream, or I wonder if, you know, other people are going to stream, but people have been busy with other things and stuff, I think, and well, in Stephen's case, he's not been feeling well. So it's good news that he's feeling better. So I'll just move this over here a little bit. sorry about that, I'm not sure what happened there. The camera just decided to have a mind of its own and equivalent of Alt-Tab. It went to something else instead of actual camera. So let's just adjust this a little bit. I'll bring the meter in. So the first thing that's a little bit confusing, and I guess I can compare actually to the other board just to show you this. And we'll scope it in a minute as well. I've got the little portable Velleman scope, so we can have a look at the clock signal and stuff, you know, the clock there to the real-time clock chip. But the first thing that's confused me about this, and again, other people might have some better insight into this than me. Let's see if I can just point that down a little bit. Yeah, so meters on continuity test, okay? So the things I'm concerned about when it comes to, you know, doing a battery mod to this and fixing one of these, well, there's a couple of things. Obviously, you need to check for corrosion around the pins and the socket and all that, but beyond that, you want to know where the voltage goes to the battery so that you can isolate it. You know, typically you'll have a resistor somewhere that feeds the battery. And then the other thing you want to make sure of is that the crystal is correct on here. You know, these sometimes get corroded up totally. You need to replace the crystal. There'll always be, you know, it's just a standard watch crystal, 32.768 kilohertz. You can buy them for pennies on eBay. And in fact, I bought a load of those for the Archimedes because every one of them is going to need a new crystal. And then it's just a case of doing some sanity checks. So we check from ground. If this cap down here, can you see the negative band is at the top? So that's the ground. That's going to be a smoothing cap to the board. So we've got a good ground point there as a reference to start with. You could take it from anywhere on here. You can look at the pin out of this, or look at the pin outs of these, and you know you've got a ground. But what I want to do is see the crystals here. You've got one pin. I'll test from there first. One pin of the crystal should go to that pin there. Yeah, third from the end. And then the other one should go from second from the end. And then I think your supply goes to the first pin. But then on either side of there, you should have a cap going to ground. So if I measure from reference down here, ground, and we measure this side of this cap, it's open circuit. There's nothing there. This one here, it's open circuit. So it's not to ground. This is the first mystery with this board. Now you can see I've put a wire, you might be able to see it there, a wire there. There was a trace there and it's super corroded to the point where I had to replace it with a wire. So it's going through a hole here, through a hole there, just joining them up, because they should both be connected to ground. So following it up here and along here, it's like one of these diodes comes out over here, and I was like, hang on a minute, is this like a supply rail coming in like 12 volts or something? And lo and behold, it is. So it would seem that instead of having these caps going to ground, they've connected it to just less than 12 volts. You've got a diode drop there of about 0.7 volts. It's showing about 10 point something volts here at that point. So that is the first thing that has got me absolutely stumped. Has anybody seen that before? It's the first time I've seen a crystal with its legs, you know, the other side of its leg. You know, it's not pulled to ground. It's, well, not really pulled to ground, but with the cap over to ground. It's got a cap over to the supply rail, which is, yeah, that's just, I've never seen that. I've never seen that. Have any of you guys ever seen that before? And contrary to that, if we look at this one, or the opposite of that, I should say, if we look at this one, and do the same sort of thing. We've got our, again, a cap down here, handily, so we know the ground, again, is, you know, the top pin of that cap there, and our crystal is over here, so you know you can't really see it from there. Let's try and see if we can move the camera around a little bit here. That might be a bit better because you can actually see what I'm measuring. So measuring from my black probe on ground, and we've got a cap here. Hang on, yeah, this little cap here, it looks like a resistor. That's a cap. Yeah, that little greenish body thing there. So one side is joined to ground, as you can see, and then the other cap is this trim cap here. So one of the pins on the crystal goes to this side of the cap there, and on the other side of it, again, we've got ground. So that's what I would expect. You know, let's say you got, and I can show you again the same sort of thing here. I think it might be a bit hard to see, but the second pin down here from the end is going to go to one pin, and the third one on the crystal, and then one below it is going to go to the other pin on the crystal. Hang on, yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's just interesting that caps on this one, the other side goes to ground. Caps on this one, they go to like 12 volts, which is the first time I've ever seen that. It's weird. I mean, clearly it works, and I'll show you. If you scope the crystal here, it's oscillating. It's oscillating, so I guess it doesn't really matter which side, whether it's on ground or whether it's on a positive rail. I guess it doesn't matter. It's just interesting to have the difference between the two boards. So yeah, the next thing you need to consider when doing a real-time clock mod, apart from knocking your camera over, which I'm just about to do, and I'll zoom back out a little bit. Obviously is the battery. You know, we need to work out how to put the battery. So I might just need to whiz back over there again to work out which one's the positive on here and which one's the negative. In theory, I should know this because it's going to be the same as this board, isn't it? You've got, can't see the contacts now. Yeah, you've got two contacts there. Can you see that? 1, 2, and then the third one down here. So I forget whether the one on its own is the negative. Let's confirm on this one without knocking the camera. Hang on, let's just put you back over here again so you don't get knocked over continuously. So on this one, again, the easy way to do it is find a ground on the board. We know this cap is. Sorry, you can't quite see that, can you? The cap. And then just measure the battery to find out which side's your ground. Yes, the single one on its own is our ground. Single is ground. So that makes, yeah, this ground here. Yeah, and that's right, actually. I could have done that on this board, couldn't I? And this side, as I say, now this is a surprise to me as well, and it's probably because I've never looked at it, but I measured the voltage on the positive side here, and again, it's like, you know, 10.5 volts or something, 10 point something volts. It's 12 volts minus the, you know, voltage drop and the diode voltage drop there, so you get just over 10 point something volts there. Now, if you were just to stick a CR203 holder on that, you're going to feed 10 volts into your battery, aren't you? So we need to isolate that. We're going to need to cut a trace here. So the negative is the single one. What we want is the battery to join, you know, to the normal supply rail that goes to this via our little diode. I've got a couple of diodes somewhere. I don't know what I've done with them now. Oh, they're over this side of the room. Let's go and get the diodes. Hang on. Yeah, there we go. I think the 1N5711's, it's like a low forward switching voltage, like 0.15 volts or something. So that's our negative. Let me just reconfirm that again. I think I'd remember, but I've got a brain like a sieve. There we go. Yeah, so the positive rail here. Yeah, these two positive contacts. I think what we need to do is cut it, isolate it, you know, stick our diode across here maybe. So, I'm trying to think how it would get there though. It must be through the underside. I don't know. How does the positive connection get to here? It comes up here to that diode. Where's that diode go? There's no traces on that side. This is what I'm confused about with this. It's got me stumped. It's totally got me stumped. These are the positives. There's no traces on this side, look. Oh, hang on. Yeah, it's going to that diode there, isn't it? I think. Yeah, I don't think you can just about see. It looks like there's a trace underneath it. Yeah, there is. So it would appear that the battery gets fed through here, through a diode, into this rail here, so then this becomes the positive. So let's just test that. Let's just see if that diode there goes to the corner pin and provides the supply to the chip. I think it should do. Yeah, it does. Well, that makes things even easier. But then how does the battery get charged? Because I don't know, I'm confused by that. Oh, yeah, bear in mind. So, yeah, the rail that goes along the top there, not only is it joined to this diode, but it's joined to that diode there, which is the supply coming in, isn't it? Yeah. Well, then why would we need a diode here? Yeah, it's got me super confused, this. In any case, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to sever this trace here, actually, and then just fit a diode that way, so it's going to feed from the anode side, you know, here, effectively. The cathode will be over here somewhere. I'm trying to think of a simple, easy, clean way of doing that. I'm not sure we need all these blooming diodes on here, actually. What's that one doing? That one's going across there and going nowhere. Anyway, it should be simple. Right now it doesn't look simple. It would be probably easier if I just drew some schematics and reversed it, but you know, in principle, all we're doing here is want to isolate the battery with a diode, so it doesn't really matter, you know, what's going on up here to a degree. I'm just trying to think of the easiest way to modify it without damaging it too much. I mean, it's only a third-party one anyway, isn't it? So it really isn't a big deal. I could use my track cutter. I'm tempted to do that, actually. It might just be a bit easier. Let's see if I can find my track cutter. Yeah, if you do anything with Vatrix, not Vatrix, I'm merging two words together. Matrix boards or Veristrip boards. You know, the Veristrip, you've got like copper strips, haven't you, with pinholes in them. Get something like this. It's a track cutter. You can buy these for about £1 or so. And then you can just literally, you know, aim at an area here you want to cut and just twist it. I might need to use the knife a little bit just to widen it. At the end of the day, this is a third-party RAM expansion here. There's nothing lost, you know, and it's not a very good one either, to say the least. It's super cheap. Someone said it looks homebrew, and you know what? It does look homebrew. I should move over to the right a little bit there. No one's ever going to revert this, are they? They're not going to go, oh, let's stick a Varta on it. It really should have had a Varta. You know, rechargeable battery. There we go, we're kind of getting there. Let me inspect that. Yeah, just a little bit more towards this side here, I think. Yeah, I think we've achieved that. You can see we've just got little divots there where we've cut that trace. So we'll just test on continuity. So it's that point there, isn't it? Yeah, so it's joined there, but it's not joined here. So there we go. So and there's no other contacts on the positive terminals there that go anywhere. All we've done is just separate the positive side from the circuit there. You know, you could just go over that a little bit just to make sure it's actually isolated, but it looks like it is. So I think so we can get the battery on there now, and I think what we'll do is we'll just use the diode to join up on the underside from the point, you know, one of the positive terminals here to wherever it needs to go. There might be a point somewhere around here we can connect it. I'll do that in a sec. Let's just get the button cell holder on there. So yeah, I have to bend the legs a little bit on this. Can you see that? That one there's just bent, yeah, bent ever so slightly on that one, because the profile doesn't seem to be exactly the same. You don't always have to do that. More often than not, you can get away without having to bend them. Let me just go and get a CR2032. So I've just nicked one of the ones off the A4000s for the moment, actually. Yeah, so you can see a 2032 there, CR2032. Positive is the top there, so it goes in that way. So the negative is that bottom bit, and the negative is the single pin, so we just need to get that into this hole up here. You can see what I'm doing. And the positive in there, I think. Yeah, let me just feel it from the underside. Yeah, I can feel those are through. You can see we've got a cap relocated on here. I'll talk about that now just before I stick that on. If I flip the board around, when I started to clean this up, that cap was off, so I took that cap off and then realised there's like a corrosion, point of corrosion right between the pad and the trace. And on this side here, I don't know how well you can see that, again you've got the pad and there's a line of corrosion and the trace, so it's not even joined up, and then there's a mysterious set of pads here for nothing. Now originally I did mount this there because it's, you know, it's a duplicate of those ones, but then you can't fit this on here. You know, if that cap's here, you can't fit this on here. So sometimes, you know, when you do things like this, you'll need to relocate, and in this case I've had to relocate that tantalum on the underside there. But there's nothing lost because there's a lot of space on the underside of an A500 memory expansion bay. You know, these things have usually got a big can that comes up like this, you know, in a triangle, aren't they? So you know, and it goes right along the bottom and encapsulates the bottom as well. So you've got plenty of space for something like that to be sat that way around. So let's just get that back on. Right, here we go. Let's just solder it in place. Ow, contact's heating up. Let's do that one. That one there's still the original leg, I think. I can see it. Let's just unblock that while we're here. It's not that important, but I guess it's better than just leaving a corroded leg hanging there, dangling away. There we go. You never know, we could, because it's joined up to here, we could stick the diode onto that maybe. So anyway, there's our button cell holder. We just need the diode now, don't we? So it needs to go from this pin here, this is the supply pin, to the, you know, this way around. Hang on, let's just pull one of these out of here. Cathode wants to go to that pin, yeah. The band here wants to go to the chip, and the anode wants to go to the positive side of the battery. So it's this pin here to there. I mean, I could, you know, stretch it right out like that. Is there any other easy way of doing that? No, there isn't, is there? I could join it with a wire maybe. Yeah, that might be the easy thing. To solder it there, like that, snip this end off and just have a piece of Kino. Because it's better to have a piece of Kino. The only other alternative is to encapsulate that all in heat shrink, because you don't want big wires like that stretched out across your board, do you? So yeah, let's just trim those legs down. So we'll deal with the anode first, I think. Let's see if I can get a slightly better angle for you. Hang on a sec. Yeah, that's going to be better. Just catching up with the comments a sec, guys. I've made a CD32 explode through trying to solder to it, lol. Oh no, that's not good. Oh, thank you for that donation, Kevin Housen. Very much appreciated. Super, super, super appreciated. Seriously, any donations like that, they just mean the world, really, because, well, times are tight, aren't they? My money's certainly tight at the moment. Right, so let's add some solder on there again. Just tin up the end of that a little bit. I could have cut it shorter, but and we'll just try and get it to say flat and flush as best as we can there. Hang on. and I'm literally just going to snip it super close to the end there. We don't need lots exposed. That's it. Yeah, so there's many ways to crack a nut, isn't there? You know, some people might just encapsulate that in heat shrink and just stretched it across. You could modify the top side of the board. You know, I could have scratched off the bits of the that copper where we cut it there on either side, and mounted its surface on the top there. You know, cut the legs super short on each side and mounted it as like a surface mount thing. Sometimes if you inspect the board, you might find, you know, in some instances there'll be a resistor or a diode that you can remove and just use that the holes for that and just fit it where, you know, like I said, the original resistor or diode was. But I don't want to interfere too much with the top side as it is, because some of it I don't really understand what's going where, if I'm honest. For a start, there's 3 diodes on there, which I don't know, I can understand having 1 on there, not 3. So yeah, the charge rail, you know, the supply rail for the chip is that one there. So let's just join that up and stretch it over down here. Again, you could use a bit of heat shrink here to join at this point, but it's not going to be that important. Get a little bit of solder on that side. This is the sort of thing that I usually do with magnification, but I can't really do that just now. That's it, I think. Hang on. When you heat things up like this, sometimes you've got to hold it in place because it maintains temperature for a period of time. There we go, that's joined up now. So, is that going to be right? Let's just do a bit of a measurement from the top side. So from here now, the positive is this little tabby thing on the side, and if we measure with the meter probes around that way, yeah, I'm not sure you can see the meter there. Let's just see if we can just wedge something under that a little bit. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. Hang on. And oh, I can't really well. If we measure from the positive side of the battery to the supply pin there, you can see we're measuring that diode. And if we measure the other way around, we should see open circuit, you know, high, not open, yeah, high impedance there, high, you know, infinity reading kind of thing. And if we let's just check to there, yeah, that's okay. So I think if we now go plug that in, we should see the 11 or 12 volts here. It's about 10 point something volts when there's no battery in. And we can stick the button cell in, measure it when it's off to see if we get the 3 volts there. But also when we're testing it without the battery, just measure here to make sure we've not got any supply there. In theory that may now work. These 500s are what I was talking about the other day, where if you've not got a battery in there, it will say no real-time clock detected. That's the other thing that I am not clued up as to how on earth that works actually, because it is supplied, it does have a voltage supply that comes from the you know, the main board there. So even if you've not got a battery, the chip has got power. So how the chip knows there was no power before it got its VCC from the power supply being switched on it is a mystery to me, but I have seen it a number of times on these 500 boards. Anyway, let's wheel over the other side of the room. We'll measure a few things, we'll scope something, and just have a look to see what it's doing. Put that down there. I want to get the ESD wrist strap back on anyway. Smooth MJ, message deleted by Terrible Fire. What's Smooth MJ been saying? He's usually quite nice, helpful guy. Yeah, let me know what Malk's been saying, because Malcolm is usually quite positive. I'm just curious as what's been going on in the chat there, because I've completely missed that. Anyway, where's my wrist strap? Right, let's connect this up. Sorry, meant to delete one message and delete them all, unhidden him. Sorry about that, Malcolm. I'm not sure what's going on. As Stephen said, it was an accident. You seem to have disappeared out of the chat. Please don't take offence to what's happened. Accidents will happen. Let's hang on, let's try it without the battery first. So let's just carefully plug it in. Bring the meter into shot here, switch it on. I mean, you can have some fun and games. I could make Smooth MJ a moderator as well. You can fight it out. Fight! Yeah, fight to the death. You can block each other. It's like saying, Mal, don't take it personally. Stephen might have just got a bit carried away and pressed the wrong thing on the wrong person or something. I'll tell you what, I've done that a number of times myself. When I was trying to block someone the other day on one of those streams, I think I inadvertently blocked the wrong person. I had to try and unblock them afterwards. It took me ages to sort it out. Anyway, so if you measure from the ground down here, and it's just measured to the positive side here, you can see that no voltage really, 0.10, and that's the ground obviously. If we measure the chip, you can see that 10 volts. So this must be a CMOS device here. If you looked at the data sheet for this, the real-time clocks on these, it's a bit like the ones on the Archimedes. It probably has a minimum working voltage like 1 volt up to about 15 volts or something like that. It might be up to 12, I don't know. This was not actually the Smooth MJ message I was trying to delete. There we go, sorry about that. No worries, Stephen, no worries. Yeah, chill guys, it's not the end of the world. So let's try it with a battery in. I've lost my battery now. We can get it. In fact, I can't find my battery. What's wrong with the battery? There it is. Switch it off again. Let's get the battery in. And let's measure from ground again to the positive side. 3 volts out from the positive pin here. Yeah, you can see that 2.87 something volts there. So all being well, and it's obviously important you do those measurements. It's important to measure it without a battery, because if you've got 10 volts going to this button cell, well, bad things can happen. I don't know what would happen if you put 10 volts into one of these 3 volt CR2032s that aren't designed to be recharged. Someone did ask me whether you could fit a lithium-ion rechargeable. Now, you probably could, actually. I've got some lithium-ion rechargeable 2032s like that, and the 2032 relates to the dimensions. I forget exactly what it is. It's like 20 one way, 20 millimeters one way, and 32 the other, or something. It's like the height and the width, or something like that. The 2032 part. A number of people have covered that in videos. I think what's he called? Ben Heck. Ben Heck covered that recently, didn't he? But I think, well, I know I've seen it mentioned in lots and lots of videos in the past about how it relates to the dimensions of the battery. So let's boot sys test and see if that real-time clock's doing anything. In fact, as it's booting, we'll scope it as well. I'll show you that. So I've got the Velleman portable scope here from Alison. It used to be Alison Charles's. So with MJ, so if I don't worry, mate, I've done the same elsewhere. I think good, glad it's been resolved, guys. Right, let me have a look. So if we find a ground for our scope probe, hang on. Connect it there. I haven't got much space to work in here. I'll try and tilt that so you can see it. And if we just probe one of the crystal pins here, I think it's, there you go. Can you see the sine wave? So, I mean, that's one of the benefits, that if you have got something that will scope, and some digital multimeters will do basic scoping functionality. Some of them will show frequency. They might not show this, but they might show you frequency. So if you measured 32.768 kilohertz there on your meter or your scope, you know you're all right. But the very fact we've got a sine wave there shows that's working. But coming back to my point earlier, let's say the other side of these two caps on those pulling on the crystal, to load the crystal down there, they're on the positive rail. They're not on the negative rail. But anyway, nevertheless, that seems to be working. So I'll point you at the screen. It's just a question now of does it actually work? Is the real-time clock? Hang on a minute. This blooming tripod. Just bear with me a sec. What seems to have happened with this tripod is it's got worn as the streams have gone on. It's like one of the legs now seems to just decide to want to go for it. Slips on its own. So if we go into real-time clock, where's that? That's the wrong one. Chipset, battery back clock, no clock detected. That's interesting because I'm pretty sure the clock has got everything it needs. You know, the chip has got everything it needs. We'll try and swap the chip out. I'll just get me, what's it called, a screwdriver. We'll swap the chip from the other board, but it may well be that both of these real-time clock chips are dead. It's not uncommon. When I did those two Amiga 4000s, one of which will go back to Stephen, yeah, both chips were two faulty real-time clock chips. So anyway, you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just going to take the one off the other board. Right, that's the one off the other board. Let's take this one off this board. Swap it over. So let's try that again. I mean, I know what's going to happen. It's probably going to go, there's still no real-time clock. At which point, I'm not sure whether it's worth pursuing just now until I get some more chips. Yeah, not detected. Can get the logic probe onto the pins, I guess, there, and just see what we can see. But you can see I've just swapped the chip there. It's really strange, that. Right, let's try and connect this up again. Disconnect the scope. Could do with getting the pin out for this. The danger with this is I don't want to probe the supply pin there because the supply pin's like 10 volts, isn't it? But all the other pins on here are just normal, you know, it's like CMOS inputs, outputs, etc., or TTL level. Nothing on that pin. Wonder what that top pin is there. Let me just get the have a count, A500 Rev6 schematics up. I'm not sure it shows the battery on that board, actually, the real-time clock. A500 plus will, won't it? Let's do that. A500, I think we've done a PCB Explorer, actually. PCB Explorer. Yeah, I'll put you over here a sec while we just do this. Gonna need to go back over there soon, though. Light off the screen, though. All you can see is a big glare. Yeah, let me just find the A500. What I want to know is what the floating pin is there on that real-time clock chip, and I'm pretty sure it's the same chip on a 500 plus. Because it could just still have a bad trace or something. The socket hasn't been off there on that one. I mean, that's the next thing I'll probably do, actually, is just remove that socket. But I don't want to do that on the stream. I think I'll move on to the Spectrum next if we can't get any further with this. Let's just scroll down here. Where's the real-time clock chip? Yeah, so it looks like it's not connected. Oh, it's going somewhere. It's going, can you see that? That's that pin. It's going to a little trace there. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't go anywhere, does it? It just goes to a little pad there. So, I don't know. It could be that both those real-time clock chips are dead. So, what we do know is we see activity on all the pins and things there. The crystal's all right. The battery's all right. It's definitely got. We can measure that. It's definitely got a supply whilst it's being powered. You know, from a power supply here. Measure that there. It's not like that's just being powered by the battery. It's not. You can see that. Well, I don't know. You can see that. So that 9.9 volts roughly. So yeah, that's a bit strange. It's got to be the chip. It's got to be the chip, I think. I mean, it could be a bad connection still somewhere under that, because you've got a couple of data bit, I think, connections go somewhere to that. Or does it connect to Gary? I think it may connect to Gary, actually. Yeah, there's some signals from Gary. Oh, but it has got D1. Yeah, it's got D1, D2. I'm just looking on PCB Explorer, D3. Yeah, there's 3 data bits there. Those are the ones that are, let's have a look at it. They're up here. It's not the N1. Yeah, see that's flash pulsing there. That's pulsing. I've just made the system crash. Yeah, I've just made it crash. Hang on. That's what happens when you short data bits out. Try that again. Yeah, pulsing, pulsing, pulsing. So it's like it's got its data bus connections. We know the clock is, you know, the crystal's all right. It's getting a clock. Yeah, it's got to be the chip. So we'll load some more of those chips, and we can perhaps we'll cover that in another video. It's going to be literally stick it in, retest it. Hopefully it works. So that answers one of the questions someone asked me the other day: is when you get a battery leak, what's the odds of a chip dying? Well, actually, a lot of the time, certain chips like that can die. I mean, I'm amazed the RAM hasn't died on either of these, but anyway, that's enough on that one for now. We'll take this board back over there. I'm just going to clean this board up because I want to finish off this board. This is the one for Tom's needs here. And other than a quick clean, it doesn't need anything else doing to it. I'll stick it back in its CSD bag, and it can be winging its way back to Tom. I really don't like disconnecting these darn things. There we go. So let's just disconnect everything. The other thing I need to do is just pull my chips off here, because it's got a lot of my chips off one of my 500 boards, this Amiga at the moment. It didn't come with a full set of chips, did it? Just touch the ground point there. Right, let's wheel back over the other side of the room, clean this up, and then we'll just have a quick look at that Spectrum. The other thing with that Spectrum, well, the cap kit's arrived. I can show you that when we come to have a look at it. I might not recap it all within this video, just give me a sec. Again, the camera has decided it wants to slant on one side. Move all this stuff out of the way. I'll move that diode over there for the other one. Just put the board there a sec. Right, that's. Yeah, the capacitor kit came from Mutant Caterpillar. Is it Mutant Caterpillar Games or is it Mutant Caterpillar? Oh, yeah, there you go. I got the card there, look. Yeah, lovely cap kit from Ian and Alex Gledhill. So I paid for it. It wasn't a donation or anything like that, but I will need to get another one of these because, yeah, I ordered this and then we got the other Spectrum, didn't we? Got the Plus out. So we've got the caps there, so I can make a start on that in this stream, I think. In terms of other things that I might cover, I don't know, I might not do this in this one. You can see you've got the replacement RAM here for one of those SIMs. Do you remember I fixed a SIM in a previous video? And there were 2 of them that were faulty. This one was the one that was intermittent. So we borrowed the 2 chips off this one to fix the one that you saw in that other video. That one's got a question mark on it at the moment. That one's I'm not sure about. But I ordered some replacement chips for this. It was a bit stupid, really, because you can buy these for, I don't know, £4 or £5 each. The chips were about £5. So, yeah, there's no sense in it. But I wanted to do it. I just like to try and save things when I can. And I'll have a few chips left over at the end anyway, should any of these develop a fault in future. So, yeah, that won't be this video, I don't think, though. We'll do that in a future video. We've got the caps here from the CD32. I thought we could have a look at some of those in a minute. We'll get them on that new meter I've got. And just to see what state those were in. Bear in mind some of them exploded from being heated with the hot air there to remove them. But it will be interesting just to see if any of them just look normal or if any of them are abnormal in terms of the measurements. I won't go through them all, but I thought we could do the same thing on that Spectrum. If I start replacing 1 or 2 of the caps in that, we could do the same thing on that as we took them off, just measure them and have a look at them. Did they need swapping out? Did they need replacing? So there isn't much to do on here. As you can see, the board looks pristine. I did reflow this here, but as I said at the start of the video, it looks like someone had reflowed that previously as well. So I'm kind of like reflowing it. As it turns out, that wasn't our issue. It was that wire between the 2 banks of chips there that I added. Right, where's my little brush gone? Right, it's here. Yeah, so I'll just get a bit of IPA on here and just have a bit of a toothbrush with this. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can just about. The other thing I was going to do just quickly in a minute, this is the top side of the board there near the ports as well, because that's looking pretty fluxy. I'll just bring some paper towel in. And try and find my other brush. Where's my other brush gone? Is it under there? It's there, look. I mean, you can see the board's looking a bit dirty up here. Could be a consequence of me having a brush, because it starts to flick all over the place. But anyway, I'm not going to spend ages on this. I just want to clean up the obvious things before it goes back to Tom. Yeah, that's looking a bit better, I think. It could also do with it on this side. Can you see here? Can you see how brown these pins look here? Now, I haven't touched that. It looks kind of really browny, and I don't know. Again, it could be flux from manufacturer. I was just trying to tilt that down a little bit. Yeah, again, it could be flux from manufacturer, but it's just looking awful. I actually think that that has been cleaned up before with a bit of, I don't know, something friction, and then someone's tried to put a bit of flux on it and reflow it on that side, maybe. But it's certainly not something I've done. We'll clean these while we're here as well, I think. Yeah, and I'll just clean up the cotton bud. That'll do, I think. Yeah, so can you see how yellowy this is here? Yeah, that's the thing, and it doesn't look as browny yellow as it was down here. There was something there, definitely. So anyway, that's that bit. Let's just do quickly the underside here. This is what I was talking about before. Can you see? I'll get you a bit closer. They're always like this, generally, from Commodore. Can you see it's a bit fluxy along there? So I figure that before we just stick this in the bag to go back, why not just have a quick clean here as well? It's only going to take a minute. I will, of course, have to just give the whole board a brush just gently, because, like I say, you flick it all over the place. It goes all over the place. That'll do. Let's just stretch a little bit of this under there. Pour a bit of IPA on there. Just go further afield. So it's starting to look a lot better, that. Just a little bit more IPA up here. Because you can see, you know, it's gone all over. There's like marks up here, look, all over here. And down there, look, I've just cleaned. Yeah, it's looking a bit streaky, but I think you'll agree the bottom of the board here is far better. It looks much better. It's much better overall, actually. So anyway, that'll do. So we'll just remove the chips. Well, might be an idea for me to test it, actually. I'll do that later. I won't bore you with that. We'll stick it back in its bag. I'll remove the chips from it later, and as it's had its final test before it goes back to Tom. I will test the serial and parallel ports on it again before it goes back to him, just to make sure that, because this is the one we fixed those in the previous stream there. And we'll test it with the RAM expansion again later as well, just to make sure it's fully working. And then it'll be winging its way back to Tom. I'll contact him on Twitter later this afternoon. No, not Twitter, on Patreon. So I'll just put that out of the way. Let's just clean up this mess. Yeah, sorry if your idea of fun is not watching me cleaning boards. It's, yeah, they are what they are, these streams. So, yeah, it's looking very dirty on here, isn't it? Got cat hairs and all sorts building up. Right, let's get that out of the way. The other thing I thought we might do in a stream as well at some point soon is the VGA mod to this. This has got the Will screen mod in there, so yeah, I'm not ruling out doing that as a stream. That might be over the next few days or early next week, I don't know, it depends. The big problem I've got here is I'm trying to finish off so many things. The other thing we haven't looked at is that I do know it works. I've tested this, it works, so there's not much to it, is there? It's going to be the similar thing you've just seen me do. It's going to be fitting a button cell, cleaning up and replacing that cap. I mean, we can do that cleanup. Let's just do that. Let's just clean that up. But then I won't finish it. I'll do it off stream. But trust me, that RAM expansion works. Tom was saying he would like that one back if it can be made to work. Well, it does work. The only thing it may need is the real-time clock. In fact, thinking ahead, I could actually just take that off and socket that up and try that on the other two boards. But I'd rather try and do the mod to this one first, I think. Not now, but I'd rather try and do a mod to it before I try and socket that chip up and see whether the real-time clock does work. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened there in the past. It looks like it's been burnt with an iron, maybe. Sorry, I'm missing things in the chat here. It keeps going into screensaver. Let me just go back. Where has my chat gone? Store chat. Hang on a sec, guys. I'm struggling to get the chat back here. That's it. If you've got any questions, fire that me directly with @gadget UK164 and then I'll pick it up. Yeah, we'll just give that a gentle wipe with some IPA, see if it cleans up somewhat. It's really mysterious, that. Because it's the underneath, isn't it? It's the underneath of where the cap was. It's not actually the pad there. The pad is over here where the cap is missing. So, I mean, I could just get another cap on there. I've got some actually just nearby. So we can replace the cap. I'm just not sure why it's charred in the middle. It must have shorted. It must have shorted. Yeah, it's not going to get much cleaner than that, is it? It's like baked onto the board, that. Yeah, let's just desolder those 2 points, I think. Got the iron here. Where's the solder pump gone? Yeah, it's these 2 points here. One there. One there. can't use the desolder station just now because my wife's giving a lesson to some kids actually online, and she goes nuts if I start making the noise with a pump. You know, it makes like a humming noise, doesn't it, that you can hear from anywhere in the house. Otherwise, we'll just use the solder station. Yeah, one of them's come out. That one hasn't. Let's try again. There we go, it's gone. Yeah, so we'll get a new cap on there. It's not going to take a second to do that now. I've got them here. Yeah, I had the caps already here because I was obviously, I think I might have explained at the beginning when I looked at that other memory expansion there. I tried to resolder one of the legs on one of the caps and it broke with no pressure whatsoever. The leg just snapped off. So I already had some. These are the ones that I reclaimed. You can see it here. The ones that I reclaimed from A500 boards. You know, those ones that were chopped up and I don't know what happened to them. Someone cut the bottom of the boards apart, didn't they, and just chopped the RAM part off and then sold that bit separately. But yeah, these are the right size for this, I'm sure. Just try and bend that leg in. Yeah, there we go. Let's just flip that over and solder it on. Just going to reflow that point there because it looks weird. Yeah, there we go. So, is it perfectly straight? No. That's not bad though. That's not bad. At least it's got its bypass cap back on there now. As I say, this board works. The RAM works all right on it. You can see, you know, it's a bit pink here. Can you see this? It's just, I think it's some red ink that's been. In fact, there is. Can you see? There's a red mark there. It's like a quality control marking or something, and something's got on there and made it run. Anyway, this one is just going to be something I do off camera because it's just the same as the one I showed you earlier, where I'll just fit a diode and a CR203 holder, clean some of this up, and I can show you that now. I guess the cleaner that bit, so you can get that blue corrode off there. It's a case of using a fiberglass pen like this and, you know, going at it for a minute or two. You will lose some of the silk screen, but you know you need to. You've got to get rid of that corrosion there. It's really blue, that, isn't it? It's been cleaned with vinegar previously, this. Let's just try a little bit of vinegar. Might see it fizz if there is still some alkaline there. No, it's not fizzing. Still very blue. May even need to use a wire brush or, you know, something metallic to scratch it with. You know, I sometimes use my little scratchy tool here on things like this just to get anything that's really been, you know, been really stubborn, really gripping the surface there. Yeah, it's coming away like that. Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. I don't want to spend all the time doing this in this stream. So I mean, you could cover that now with some nail polish, you know, nail polish or a solder mask or whatever. You'd probably be an idea to replace that cap. I'll do that. and then obviously bend that out of the way and focus cleaning up around some of those smaller components there. They're alright though. It looks like just the solder points need reflowing. There's no damage actually there. And there's a bit more corrosion there to clean off on that part. Anyway, I'll do that later. Let's get this spectrum apart. Before we do that, I'll just show you, there's a cap needed really to remove the DC bias on the video signal. I just didn't have any caps of the right size at the time. Error 42, is there any specific list of hardware you would like to own? Yeah, it's hard to know what's yours with all the repairs you get. Most of the things you see on my channel, 99% of them are things I own. So like the exceptions are, well obviously the Archimedes. I think, I will be keeping I think one of them myself, of these Archimedes from the Zarkos. The rest of them I'll be selling. But I've already got an Archimedes, got the 440 you saw on the channel. But when it comes to everything else, I think, yeah, I've got most of the things you've seen on my channel, if not all of them. There's very few things I've actually not got in my collection. I mean, I'd like to get at some point a Sharp 68,000, but an X68,000, but they're expensive, they're hard to find, very hard to find actually. You've got more chance of finding an Amiga 4000. And obviously I'd like to try and get this Amiga 4000 in some sort of usable state, and by that I mean like in a case of some sort, with a backplane so I can connect some Zorro cards up. Because if we do that, then the 4000 would be my main machine. I don't see any reason to use the 1200 or anything else really. Because you can quite, it's fairly reasonably affordable, I would say, to get an 060 board for the 4000 as well. The ones that Chucky has designed. There's a few places selling those PCBs as a kit. I was thinking of buying one of those as a kit, actually, and assembling one. I've already got a processor, I just don't have anything to stick it into. But my intentions with my 68060 chip were hopefully to get one of the Terrible Fireboards at some point for maybe for 1200. I don't really want the 060 for my CD32. I think the CD32 is fantastic as it is with my 030 running at 50, to be fair. What I really wanted was something like either the 4000 or the 1200 with an 060. So I'm not sure which one it will be first. Will it be the 1200 or will it be the 4000? Because once I get an 060, that's me done then. Totally happy then. It's like a dream come true. Right, let me bring the spectrum over. Let's just whip the lid off that. Yeah, so this is the one we've looked at in previous streams, so I'll just turn it upside down, get the screws out. So I'm just ground myself here. Right, just made sure I'm not got any charge built up from wandering around. Yeah, I got the keyboard working on this without changing the membrane. I just trimmed a little piece off, so hopefully it'll stay working that way. We'll just carefully detach this again. I might deal with that cap first before I change any of the caps. The video coupling, I mean. There we go. Yeah, so those are shorter. You can see it's trimmed down. And that one's trimmed down, but it works perfectly. Yeah, so what I might do is just wheel back over there again. We'll connect this up, we'll just power it, and measure, just see if we can see a DC offset on the. I'm trying to think of the easy way of doing it. Probably to pull the cam off the top of that actually. Yeah, I can measure it there then, can't I? Easily. Right, go on, let's do that. It's kind of educational, I guess. Although that little Velleman scope is not going to show it very well, that's for sure. Just put it there a sec. I need to plug the Spectrum power supply in, don't I? Let me do that. Plug the Amiga. So I've got a composite video here. And where's the power connector gone? It's all the way over here. let's just connect that up. Before I do, let me switch the TV on. I know you can't see what I'm doing. Let me just put the TV on AV side. Plug it in. Yeah, I'll show you that. So you can see it's working. The other thing that you sometimes might want to do when you do a composite mod is consider, like say, adding a transistor there to amplify, like a 2N3904 or something. Hang on, switch the scope on. Connect to that. I'll show you this in a sec. Let me just see if I can get it to display something here. Yeah, I think, hang on. Yeah, I think that's working. Let me show you. If I point you at this, hang on. It's going to be hard to try and get all of these things on screen at the same time. Yeah, I think you can just about see the screen there. So if I measure that signal, so we're displaying DC here. So the ground line, can you see the little, hang on, let's see if I can see what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, in the middle of the screen there's the ground line. If I measure, say, let's try and measure the voltage on one of these chips here, like 5 volts for example. Let's give it a sec. So you can see, like, that's the 5 volt rail, yeah? And you can see the little dot in the middle there, that's the ground level. If I measure a ground pin, you should see, yeah, you see it's floating around ground. We've got some noise there, but that's at ground level. And again, 5 volt level, I'll show you, jump up, hang on. You've got to bear with it, there you go. It's a slow scope. So you can see that's 5 volts DC. If I measure the video output, I mean, again, the meter's on DC coupling here. You can see there's our video signal, but it's not, you know, it's quite high up. It's got a DC offset in relation to our ground level. It should be nearer to, well, it should be at ground, you know, not really at ground, but lower. Where's the coupling thing now? Switch it over to AC. Yeah, there's the video signal. Can you see that? But when you look at it like that, you see you don't see that DC bias because we've got it on AC coupling. Anyway, that's what a composite video signal looks like, by the way, on this scope. So I think the first thing I need to do is just break, you know, where I fed the wire into the modulator here from the outside and joined it straight up to the thing there to feed it through a cap. So just bear with me, guys. I'll just go and get a cap. Let's just switch this off, take it back over there, plug it back in on charge, and we'll deal with that first. There aren't very many caps on these. I'm not sure if I'm going to do an entire recap of this on stream. I might have a think and see if there's anything else more interesting I could swap over to after we've taken a few of them off. I don't know. I don't really know what's interesting watching, that's the problem. Yeah, so I'm not sure I answered that question before. Actually, someone said, is there any systems you would want that you've not got, kind of thing. It's maybe an Amiga 1000 or an Amiga 3000 at some point, but again, it's like hen's teeth, isn't it? Yeah, trying to really rare, super rare. Right, let me go and get a cap. I'll just be right back, won't be a sec. Sorry about that, guys. Right, I've got some caps here. I'm going to go with the 220, I think. Get a pretty small 220 here. So what you guys been doing today? Everyone been working? Have you just been sunbathing? Watching YouTube? What have you been doing? I've been pretty busy the last few days because, like I said, I had a migraine yesterday, but I spent quite a bit of time tidying up and stuff as well. I seriously need to do my garden at some point. With my leg problems I had last year, you might, if you watch some of my streams later last year, you'll know I had problems with my leg. I couldn't walk or anything, I couldn't even sit, it was horrendous. But as the year went on, as soon as we got to like September, as soon as we got to like October, November, December-ish, I started to improve significantly. So my mobility is really good now, actually. My leg problems are a long-distant memory, thank goodness. Laid on the back watching you. Yeah, so I think it might be a good opportunity for to do some exercise. I was thinking about ordering a strimmer. Yeah, not a strimmer. What's it called? Head shears. You know, instead of like normal shears, you got to like these. I don't know, where's it gone now? My cutters. Yeah, instead of like shears like that on a grander scale, I was thinking of getting one of those electric ones, so that I can trim all the front of the house and stuff, and the ones at the back. We've got loads of holly overlapping the fence at the back, and it's a pain, that holly. It just keeps coming back all the time. Or is it ivy? It's ivy, not holly, ivy. To be fair, we've had both in our garden. Right, anyway, let's just disconnect that wire. So I need my little metal tool here. Carefully heat that point there. You can't really see what I'm doing. Just pulling it off. That's it. Not really sure the best way to do this, actually. Probably put the negative in on the cap first, and then just join the positive to it. What I want to do is avoid any shorts. Not a lot of room in here. Can you see there's not a lot of room in there for, I mean, you could do a cap somewhere around there like that. Maybe it's going to show on this here though, isn't it? Should pull that out of the way. Yeah, there's not enough space at all. What some people do is completely gut the modulator, take everything out of it. That's probably a better idea. I don't think anybody's ever going to revert it, to be fair. For people with collections and things like that, they're always going to have one that's not been unmodified somewhere. Yeah, I might just about fit it there, I think. Let's try and do that. Let's add a bit of solder here. Turn that leg up. I'm sure it's going to be sticking up, that's the problem. Yeah, sorry, I'm going to block it while I do this, I ain't got much choice. There we go. Oh, hang on. Yeah, age-old problem of when you heat something up that's a large piece of metal like that, if you don't hold it in place for a period of time, it's I just touched the cap there, it maintains that heat. It doesn't cool down and solidify. Yeah, I think I just touched the top of that can there. Anyway, that's that joined up, so I can trim this off and feed it down there, I think, to the wire that's already there. There we go, let's just see if we can join those up. It's a bit bodgy. That's it. Yeah, it's not going anywhere though. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, and it should fit with the lid, I think. Just try that lid back on for size. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's alright. I might just go and give that a try. We can remeasure it again. The main thing is, will it work? It could also perhaps do with a termination resistor, 75 ohm or something. If you don't have things like that on composite signals, you can end up with what's it called, reflection. Yeah, so it just interferes with the signal. You can get like a really noisy display. Been having a bloody night with my son's PC, stupid Windows 10, and some of the protected kernel fault on boot. Ended up having to more or less reinstall. Yeah, I don't like when things go wrong with Windows 10. It used to, I don't know, from my experience I had less problems with XP. Well, having said that, the early days I had lots of problems with XP. You know, there's so many vulnerabilities in XP. There are lots of things I do like about Windows 10, as I've got to know it and stuff. Someone said they're doing support calls. Ouch. It's too hot for support calls. Chris, I'm 20 minutes behind live. 9 volt on the RTCVDD sounds very wrong. It's not. It does sound very wrong, doesn't it? But it's not. It's the same on both of these. It's been designed that way. If you actually look at the board, they've fed it straight from the 12 volts. You know, the expansion slot there, it's got a 12 volt connector. That's how they've powered them. It sounds wrong, but it's not. If you measure on, I don't know, an A2000 motherboard or an A500, they're not using 12 volts for that chip. But I suspect if you look at the data sheet for it, it's a CMOS chip, and you'll probably find it's like, say, it'll 1 volt up to 12 or something like that. It might be 1 to 15. It's working voltage. So those third parties, what they've done is they've just bodged. You know, they've bodged it, and instead of, I don't understand why they didn't take feed from the 5 volts and then drop it with a diode or two to charge a 3.6 volt cell or something similar. What they seem to be doing on them is feeding roughly 10 volts ish into a 3.6 volt cell. I've got a few others that are exactly the same. They have taken 12 volts, which is anyway, it's weird. Right, let's just wheel back over there again. Let me just check the battery level on this before I commit to wheeling over there. Hang on a sec, it's not even plugged in again, is it? I've done what I did the other stream where I didn't plug the extension in. Hang on a minute, now plug the fire in. Let's try again. Yeah, 35%. Okay, we'll be all right to go over there for a minute just to measure it and retest it. And then we'll come back and, I don't know, remove some of the caps off there as we remove them. It might interest a few people. I need to do it anyway. I do hate recapping things because it's just so time consuming. What is wrong with this stand now? There we go. So I'll get the video up again. I want to make sure the video is working. Yeah. I'll show you that. So it's not like we've lost the video. We haven't. I cut myself off. Oh, I didn't cut myself off. I was saying, yeah, the transistor. You may need a transistor when you do mods like this. The fact that the picture, the white is not very white, I think would maybe benefit from having a transistor, actually. Although, I did upload some screenshots to Twitter earlier. Let's just pull this cap off again. And it looked fine, actually. Some photos of school days, the colours look fantastic. So if I try and bring the meter in again, I'll just tilt it a little bit, try and get that reflection off the screen. And if we probe that now, so that's the RF, you know, AF, AC. What the hell's AF? I don't know where I came up with that from. Anyway, switch over to DC. Hang on. Yeah, so on DC coupling, can you see that? That's on DC. Switch on to AC. Exactly the same. So we've moved that DC offset there, the bias to the signal, which, you know, can interfere with things. It can cause problems. It could, in theory, kill certain video inputs on your TV if you're unlucky. I mean, I'll be honest, this TV's happy with no matter what you throw at it. Anyway, so that was just something we needed to do. Let's wheel back over there and take some of the caps off and measure them. So there's a screw holding the board in, isn't there, I think, in the middle. I'll just ground myself before I take the board out. Just put that out of the way. So let's start over here. One thing from experience I found that when I've done these before, when you do a recap on these, you end up sometimes having to adjust these again. I don't know what that is. Obviously there must be a relationship there. One of them is affecting something somewhere that means that even though you've dialed the picture in perfectly, suddenly you've got to change it again. So it might be an idea to recap one of these before you start messing around with the video. While we're on the subject of Spectrum things, it looks like, I mentioned that Dave Time Math Software unfollowed me after I had the issues with the Future was 8-bit, what's it called, cart there, Div MMC Future. It seems like Future was 8-bit stopped following me as well. So, I don't know, it doesn't take much to stress some people, does it? It's just one of those things, I just had some bad luck with it. It really isn't any reason to get stressed about it. It doesn't make their product look like there's a problem with it or anything. There isn't. It's a fantastic car. The easy way to do this obviously would be with a desolder station, but as I say, my wife's doing stuff. I've got to be quiet. I've got to keep the noise down in here. Yep, solder's not freeing up there, is it? We'll just heat and pull it, I think, very carefully. We'll measure them as we do them, I think. It's incredibly hot, that. Incredibly hot. Just get a bit more solder on it. There you go, that's one side out. So which way around was that? Yeah, the arrows were pointing up that way, weren't they? So, yeah, it's got a positive designation. I'll show you that. You can just about see the positive there. So that was on there the way it's just turn the thing around a little bit. It might be more stable that way. So let me get my little meter out to just connect it up. And switch it on. 33 microfarad, 0.52 ohms. So that's very low. Now this thing does different beeps. I'm not sure whether the beep indicates what it thinks, whether it's healthy or not. Yeah, we'll see. You'll see that as we do more. It's actually a 22 microfarad, I think. Let me just have a look with a magnifier. Yeah, it is. It's 22. You can see that. It's 22 microfarad, 16 volt. So the fact it's come at 33 just goes to show you it's like 50% out or something in its tolerance, isn't it? So yeah, I mean that's always one of the things I always think when I do these. I always see the size not being accurate, but I looked okay there. I think it wasn't. I don't think that was high. And if you saw an ohm or two there, it's turned into a resistor. But I mean, 0.6 of an ohm. So what size is that? 22. Right, let's just get the cap kit. I don't know what I've done with it now. There it is. Yeah, so these, as I say, came from Mutant Caterpillar Games. There's lots of places doing them. Let's just get them all out. Yeah, it's an issue 2. And they will ask you, well, if you try ordering one of these cap kits, they'll ask you which issue Spectrum you've got, because they vary slightly between what capacitors you need. Yeah, I've got a 22 here. The all 20. Yeah, I'm not sure. They're good quality ones, these as well. Vichy caps. I've got a 25 volts here. I don't see any 16s. I'm just checking to make sure there's none of a lower voltage in case I. No, they're all 25s. There's 22s. So let's get one of those on. You can see, hopefully, where's it gone now? Yeah, it's got like a little arrow band that points one way, that points towards the ground. So I'm going to need to straighten the legs out on this. These are all kind of mangled, actually. It's not that important, but so must go that way. Yeah, that's the negative. Wants to go through there. This camera's really annoying me. It's right in the way. I'm trying to do stuff. Yeah, that should be all right. So I'll just unblock those holes. Is that stuck on there now? Yeah, coming back to the point I was trying to make about the Div MMC future, I'll be doing a review on that. In retrospect, I won't mention, you know, not really in retrospect. The point I would like to make is I won't mention the issues I had with it when I do that review. It's kind of, hang on. It's one of those where it's unblocked on one side, it's not unblocked on the other. This is what I was talking about before, you know, I said that there's no solder mask. This is one of those boards where it's got like that, you know, exposed surface. So it's really easy to bridge things if you're not careful. So let's try that again. Someone said test it before you pop it. Yeah, that's a good idea. But I mean, these are all, like I say, they're really good quality Vichy caps. So I can't imagine I would need to test every one of these as I put them in. But you know, it's probably a good practice, I guess. Even that one's reading high. Does this thing need calibrating or something? Look, 31 microfarads, 0.78. In some ways, that looks worse than the one that I'm putting on. Where's my cat meter? Let me just try and measure the cat meter. Because measure the cat meter, I'll be honest, I've got more confidence in this one. This one gives, that one might be alright for ESR, that Peak Atlas thing, or Atlas Peak meter. But this thing seldom gets anything wrong. It's usually quite accurate, actually. No, actually, it's reporting the same thing, look, almost 33. Hard to believe. It would seem that these are very similar to the original ones in terms of tolerance. Maybe they're like 20% tolerance or something ones, I don't know, like the original were. Anyway. Yeah, so there's our cap. Just bend the legs out a little bit. Solder it on. Yeah, it's one down. I mean, there's no mistake in these because these Vichy ones have got like a dark blue. Well, those have sort of got a dark blue thing, haven't they? But yeah, anyway, they're a different manufacturer, aren't they? Let's try and do that one at the back. I don't know if this makes good watching, guys. So like, I don't know. I might get off soon and see if I can think of something more interesting to show you. Is it that one there? I think it might be that one. No, it's the one above it. It's that one. I really need the desolder station for this, because some of the solder's coming off, some of it's not. I'll try and pull it through again, I think. Easier said than done. Okay, that's one side out. Let's just see which side's the ground, which one's the... Yeah, so it's the ground is nearest the edge of the board here. There we go. Just unblock the holes. That's one. Yeah. Let's have a look at that one. Surprised we've still got 96 people watching. That's amazing. Yeah, so just testing that one now. I don't know what size it is. It's only 22, isn't it? Look at that, 64. That's a 22. Yeah, it could be because it's still warm. Yeah, it's going down a little bit, look, as it cools down, but it's not that warm. 62 microfarads instead of 22. But again, that's not really the issue. It's when you get the ESR, you know, more capacitance, if it's just smoothing something there, or it might not make much of a difference. It can affect things when you're coupling. That's the thing, you know, if you're coupling, using one of those to couple signals, you know, a difference of 50% like that or more can obviously have an effect. Right, so that was another 22. Let me just find one of these, 22. Yeah, this one's another 22. Negative towards the edge of the board. Right, spare me a sec, I need to try and see if there's holes there. Yeah. Right. I remember when I recapped my own one of these actually, that I had an issue because I did bridge something somewhere. Just like a fleck of solder. I was perhaps trying to unblock the holes on this side here, and I had a fleck of solder landed on something, and it drove me nuts trying to work out what it was. So you do have to, take that problem seriously on these. So there we go. We'll leave it like that. It's perhaps slightly bigger, this cap, than it needs to be, physically. But beggars can't be choosers, because that type of cap are quite hard to find these days, from my experience, at least. Obviously, mutant games have got lots of them, but it could be, new old, new stock, new old stock. I think the pad's gone there, has it? It has. It has. We've lost the part. The pad isn't on that side though; it's on the other side. So let's just trim the leg down. So at the moment it's only soldered on one side, but on this side here, that's where the actual connection goes. And in fact, actually, I can see the solder's already gone through and there. I just need to tidy it up a bit, I think. What is going on there? Like a big lump of it. Let me just inspect that. I can't see what is going on from there. Yeah, that's all right. Can you see that? So we've got a solder point there on this side, but I think the pad went on the other side. It's probably the iron being a bit high, but I'll be honest, these are always a pain. They're always a pain. I hate doing these spectrums. So easy to lose pads on these. I find it hard to lose pads on the C64 now. I really do. But on these, I only have to just look at them the wrong way and they seem to break. The thing is, you need to go fairly high, because I don't know whether it's very evident there from what I was doing, but even though I'm quite high on the temperature here, the solder on the other side doesn't melt. You know, you end up pulling them through instead of trying to desolder them. But again, that might just be because I'm using a solder pump. If I was using my desolder station, that might not happen. Anyway, that's 2 down. I think before I just go and do any more on this, I'd prefer to take my time with this and try and avoid doing things like that, pad damage. I'll do the rest of this board off stream. We'll perhaps have a look at some of those CD32 caps. Let me just get those out of that bag, and let's just have a read of those on that meter. Obviously not the exploded ones, because they're they're not going to read anything, are they? Those components are essential to my mental health. Which components? Hang on. So much stuff going on in the chat, I can't keep up. I'm back. Welcome back, Stephen. Yeah, I'm going to be getting off soon, I think, because I've not had anything to eat again yet. I missed my lunch again today. So let's look at those CD32 caps. Where have those gone? Here. So let's move that board over there. Move these caps out of the way as well. They really shouldn't be floating on the edge of there like that. Yeah, these are going to go in the bin in a minute, but I thought I would just keep these here, just out of interest, and we could just check 1 or 2 of them as something to do kind of thing. So we'll start with these big beefy 1000s that were usually the wrong way around. On that CD32 they weren't. They were okay. There you go. So that's not actually bad, is it? It's quite low on the ESR there. 946 microfarad instead of 1000. Let's try the next big one. We'll do the three through-hole ones because they're easy to do, aren't they? And then have a look at some of the smaller ones. Yeah, 1000 look again. 0.15 ohms. So, like, did those need replacing? No, they didn't. They didn't need replacing. I suspect all the caps on that board didn't need replacing, if I'm honest. You could argue it was a good preventative thing. But this is what I find time and time again when I replace caps. I go through them all and I'm like, well, they're all alright. They're all alright in terms of ESR. They're all alright in terms of capacitance. So that was a bit low. Instead of 470, it was coming up 414. But its ESR's alright. And it's probably within tolerance, to be fair. So let's try one of these ones now. These are going to be harder to do because I've got to press test, I think, and kind of hold it in place. Oh, there you go, it's doing it now. So that's 20 microfarad, 0.85. Let me just have a look what it is. Yeah, it's a 22. So there you go. So that's like one of the SMDs on there. Instead of 22, it's a little bit low. Its ESR is alright. Its ESR is fine. Let's test another one. The ones that popped, by the way, when I was heating them, that's obviously going to be the electrolyte heating up and expanding. Again, that's another 22, look. 20.47, 0.7 ohms ESR. It's fine. It's just this one. What I like about this meter is you can just literally put the next cap on and it tests it automatically. Same thing again, another 22, showing 20.42, 0.77 ohms on the ESR. I mean, I guess I'm going to find the same with all these ones here because they're all 22s. Same again. Not far off, is it? And when you see things like this, it makes you think, why did I spend all that time doing it? Well, why did I spend all that time doing it? But, you know, it's a preventative thing. They do leak. To be fair, that one's pretty high, look at that, 4.3 ohms, but it is quite low in terms of its capacitance. It's supposed to be a 4.7, it's 4.25, ESR 4.3 ohms, so I don't know, that one's, in my mind, might be an issue. 4.3 ohms is a quite high resistor, isn't it? So that one might be bad. What else have we got here? Let's try that one. Is that another 22? Yeah, it's another 22. Give it a try anyway. Again, just over 20 microfarads, 0.76. I would say for the most part these seem fine. That one's a 47, it's coming up 45.50. Again, low ESR, 0.78. So I mean, other than that 4.7, I haven't seen any here that would lead me to be concerned. That one's 100 microfarad, it's 98.19. 0.84 on the ESR, again, I think that's fine. And they looked fine. There were no signs of any leakage on this board whatsoever on that CD32. Again, it's supposed to be 100 microfarad and 0.8 ohms. It's not bad. Another one, 100 microfarad, 0.72 ohms. Need I go on? You can see that, all right, we've got some exploded ones, but those were probably healthy, super healthy caps until they exploded. I bet if I went through every single one of those, they'd all be okay. I'd be like, the only one I'd be left with is that really low one, like 4.7, going, well, what's it coming out, 4.8 ohms or something? Yeah, that's probably a problem. But it might not have been a problem had I not heated it up. Actually, it's still in circuit if I measured it, it might have been all right. Anyway, the whole point of me doing some things like this is to show you that, yeah, they can fail. Sometimes it's good to replace them as a preventative thing. But like you've seen the two we took off that Spectrum board already, they're not dissimilar to the ones we're putting on. They're almost the same, in fact. So, yeah, you do start to question, should I be recapping every single thing I come across? From my perspective, I don't think so, actually. You could do if you want to prevent things, but it's kind of a waste of time and effort, isn't it? To a degree. It depends, you know, sometimes I would, you know, as a protection thing, just do the main caps on the board. And when I say the main caps, I'm talking about the supply rails. You know, if you look at, let me just pull the 500 in. If you look at, say, for argument's sake, an A500 board, you've got lots of caps here, but like these two here, supply, you know, like filter, I think the main supply rails coming in, or certainly one of them does. You've got, I might have 5 volts going through both of them. So then when it comes to some of these things like around here, even if these go high SR, it ain't so much of a, yeah, you might see some voltage drop or something if one of these did turn into a short, but yeah, it's not likely to happen, is it? There's that RAM board I talked about the other day. It's got 8 chips. You can see I fitted 4 more. Anyway, I'll do a separate stream on that. Well, not a stream, a separate video. Just need to edit it and upload it. So, have you guys got any questions or anything you want to ask me, anything before I go, or any suggestions? I could keep going doing this recap work, but I just feel that doesn't make particularly interesting watching, does it? I like to try and mix it up a bit, do a little bit of something and a little bit of something else. I think when you start focusing on just doing capacitors for, you know, an hour's gone by, people start to lose the will to live. What's Haybert saying there? Hang on. It's a FOD right now. Up there with putting heat sinks on every chip. Yeah, you know, you've seen me stick heat sinks on lots of chips. I will do on the MOS chips because you know what, they're irreplaceable, aren't they? That's the thing. It's not like you can replace them. But when it comes to things like RAM and standard logic, I couldn't give a crap even if the gets super hot. And there are a few things I would do that on. On these, has this got heatsink on? I'm not sure. Yeah, on this here, I tried to fit a heatsink on the ULA. You know, I wouldn't be worried about anything else on here, if I'm honest. Even this RAM here, because you could always replace it with more modern. You know, you can get a little PCB. I think Jules Burcullum does one, doesn't it? It fits in the profile there, and it's got a couple of SRAM chips on it or something, and some logic to deal with the RAS and the CAS side of things. And you've replaced all that RAM with some modern SRAM. So that's the sort of thing you can do with things like that. And you know, you can always deal with the ROM here. There's going to be plenty of Z80s for years to come. I think there's that many of the blooming things out there, and it's the same with the standard logic. But the ULA, yeah, well, you can replace that these days, can't you? There's like an FPGA type replacement for this now, I think. I'm sure I saw one. Is it called Newla or something, or New ULA? I don't know. There is one. But even still, yeah, that's kind of a replaceable. So if you can fit a heatsink there, great, fit one. But I do agree, some people go crazy and stick heat sinks on absolutely everything. That's my point. Anyway, that's my view. Yeah, recapping is relevant, but consideration behind it is a bit misunderstood. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like you look at a board and you inspect the caps and you take some readings. And the thing is, with something like this, you can actually read in the circuit with the SR. It uses a high frequency, doesn't it, to go about doing the readings. So you can get some instances where you won't get an accurate reading, but you can literally just do this sort of thing, I think, and test it in situ. See what that comes back with. Yeah, it's another one of those 22s, isn't it? I can tell you that straight away because it's given the same sort of reading as the others. ESR 0.91. Is it 22? Yeah, it is. So, you know, it's not like you even need to always necessarily even desolder them to test them. So then comes the question of why bother? What you could do is, that's what I was trying to make, is just focus on the main ones. Well, you could look on here and see which one of these goes over the 5-volt rail and swap that out. You could do the same for the -5, and there is a -5, I think there is, and +12, -12, if those, whatever voltages you got on there. But then by the time you've done that, you might have done 4 or 5 caps on here anyway. So on a board like this, well, you may as well do them all. There's hardly any on it. But on some systems, there's just no point. There's just no point. You just swap the main 1 or 2 caps on it, and the rest of them, you can, you're never going to have a problem. Even if they turn into resistors, you probably won't have a problem. Mike Sincox, so what are you having for dinner? No idea. I was thinking of just making a tuna sandwich or something, actually. Terrible fights, order file type, instantly doing the heat sinks. People do it, will swear the machines run better. Yeah, I mean, the heat sinks do make a difference. Don't get me wrong. It's like if you put a heat sink on a SID chip or a PLA and measure temperature, you will see a difference. You know, you put a thermocouple underneath it, you can see a difference. So it could extend life on chips like that. But as you say, there's people that are just going through and sticking them on everything. There's lots of places where I just see it's a pointless endeavour. Where the chips are available, what's the point? Someone said my Saturn ran better and the EDM. Yeah, your Saturn runs faster, does it? You're getting more frames per second because of that heatsink. Is that what you're saying? Because there are some people like that, aren't there? There was something I saw the other day where someone was, they did something stupid like that and they swore it improved the performance. I'm like, hang on a minute, there's no way that could affect the performance. I forget what it was now. It was funny though. I might remember it. If I do, I'll tell you in the next stream. Electronash, my brother lived in Australia for 7 years. I asked him when Kath and Kim was meant to be set, as they were all using old cordless phones from the 80s. He said modern day Frankston. Lol. Yeah, Game Gears. There's a comment back there about Game Gears. Yeah, they killed many Game Gears. Yeah, that's the thing. There are lots of batches of caps that are really notorious and need replacing. Totally agree with that. I'll tell you what else that affects as well. These SMD caps, camcorders from around the 90s. You know, you might have a Canon one or a Samsung one or something at home, or what's it? Not S video. The SVHS. You know, the little mini cassettes and things like that. Those are notorious for having these bad caps. They leak and spew the guts all over the board and destroy them. And PCs of around that era as well. Lots and lots of PCs had similar problems. I fixed a number of PCs from that around that era. From friend Simon actually as well. You know, his business. He had a few. He had a server. It was a Dell, I think. You should have seen the state of the caps on it. They were awful. They'd all blown the tops. And those weren't SMD ones. Those were like through, normal electrolytic through holes, aluminium ones. So yeah, there's always instances of bad batches and things like that over the years that you would you'd be stupid not to replace the caps. Right, anyway, I'm going to get off, guys. So yeah, hopefully you found that interesting. I'll catch you guys later. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and hopefully Stephen might do a stream. I'll keep an eye on his channel. Catch you guys later. Thanks for the donations, by the way, and sorry if I missed anything.